Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Woolly Ferret podcast. My name's Lisa and I'm coming to you from Derbyshire in England. This is my podcast about knitting, crochet and sewing and all things crafty. So hello and welcome everybody, thank you for joining me. If you want to find me on the internet, I am Lisa Saxton on Instagram, and I have a personal account on Ravelry which is Lisa Saxton, and we also have a podcast group on Ravelry which is the Woolly Ferret podcast group on Ravelry, and I'll put the details up here on the side so that you can see those. And that's really all. Oh, and if you want to contact me by email, you can contact me at woollyferretpodcast@gmail.com. So yes, thank you. It's been a little while, so I'm a little bit discombobulated. I've had to change the angle of how I film because I've had a little bit of a change around in the loft crafty area. We're still nowhere near finished, but never mind. So yes, and it's been a lot longer since my last podcast than I expected it to be. I was going to film at the beginning of January, but unfortunately life and ill health has gotten in the way. I will talk a little bit about my health at the end of the podcast rather than here, just in case you're not interested in that. Then you don't have to listen to me waffle on about that. You can just switch off after all the crafty stuff. But yeah, so how have you all been? I've been obviously a bit up and down, to be honest with you, but I have been crafting, and I hope that you've all managed to get some lovely crafty goodness in. It's now the end of January, so Christmas has been and gone, and the New Year has been and gone, and yeah, so it's time for another year. So things that have been going on in my life, I've just been looking at my notes. I did write notes this time because I'm a bit out of whack, so it'll be easier if I have notes, so you'll have to excuse me if I keep looking down. One of the big things that's been going on in my life is that my son has gone off for a year backpacking and is in Australia. He may stay in Australia. I know he wants to go to New Zealand, he's been before, and possibly Japan, but at the moment he's starting in Australia, and he's initially at my sister's house, which is good, but he will be moving on from there soon. He's only just gone on Tuesday of this week, and I have to say it's affected me a lot more than I thought it would. I found it really upsetting, really. He's not been very well these past few months, so I think that's part of it. I've been a bit worried, and but he's gone off, and I know he's extremely lucky because what a wonderful adventure he will have, and I'm excited for him as well. Yeah, so he's worked all summer. He's finished his university degree, worked all summer to save money to go, and he will have to work when he's out there. He'll have to find casual jobs. He's got a working visa for a year in Australia, so if he stays there he will have to get himself some work, otherwise he won't be lasting the year because his money will run out and I don't have any to give him. So yeah, so that's been the big event in our lives, and that's obviously consumed me a little bit, getting him prepared for that and making sure he's got everything, because he's terrible at sorting that sort of thing out. He'll book his tickets and everything else, he's just, oh yeah. Travel insurance I've had to sort out. I've paid for that for him as his Christmas treat. So yes, so yeah, so that's what's been happening in January, and my plans for this year. Really, I wanted to talk about a little bit my crafty plans, not my life plans. So I have been looking at my stash and looking at the books I have and the patterns I have in Ravelry and saved to my computer and whatnot, and it's a little bit overwhelming because I think I have too much and I just keep buying more, and I've really got to start using what I've got a little bit better. instead of spending money on more, and then too much choice, I think, sometimes can stifle creativity. You get a little bit overwhelmed. Well, I do. I know other people don't. So I want to start just being a little bit more mindful about what I'm doing. So my plan for the new year is to use from stash where possible, and get that down. I don't have huge stash compared to other people. I think I've said that before, but I have a decent sized stash with quite a bit of yarn in that wants to be made into things. And as you know, I've got a lot of books already, and I received £150 off my mother-in-law for Christmas, which was just such a lovely gift. So I'm going to use that as my crafting fund, and if I want to buy anything, then I'm going to say that it has to come out of my crafting fund. Now that might get topped up at birthdays and things like that. If I get gifted yarn or whatever, that's fine, but I think I'm going to set myself a limit of gift money only, and what I have to buy crafty things. And I think that will just temper me a little bit in you know, stop me from just buying things because I've seen them and thinking, oh, I want to do that, I want to do that, and stop me from getting overwhelmed with variety. Not saying that I won't buy new patterns and new yarn, because obviously I've got the money there, but just to think a little bit more about what I'm doing, I think. Does that make sense? I hope so. So yeah, so that's my New Year plans. So I think that's enough about plans and what's been happening, and we should move on to the crafty stuff. So let's move on to the knitting. Oh, no, I lied. Hang on a minute. Before we move on to the knitting, I want to do the book draw from the last episode. So the book was this, The 16 Trees of the Somme, and I apologise, the person that wins this, that you've had to wait so long for me to film an episode. So there was a couple of entries, and the winner is Beverly Bullock. Hi Beverly. Beverly's sent me a message on Ravelry to say hi. So hi Beverly, in the past. So if you can send me your address please, Beverly, if you still want this book. I know it's been some time since I've mentioned it, but if you send me your address please, I will put the book in the post to you. I don't think you've won a prize from me before, maybe a pattern prize only, but yeah, that would be great. So yeah, so now we will move on to the knitting. Okay, so let's move on to talk about knitting. So the first thing I've got to show you is my completed Strictly socks. Now I know I've shown you one before on the podcast, but I now have two socks completely finished. So that's great. This is a really lovely pattern. This is a pattern by Verity Castledine. Excuse me, I've got a book here that it's from. So this was made in the Lemon Chillo colourway by Sam from Betsy Makes. I don't think I've pronounced that right, never mind. And so this is the sock. I'll try and get a close-up of the pattern here. Really pretty pattern, gorgeous yarn. So it's a lovely sock to make. I really enjoyed it. It was my first pattern sock, and I wasn't great on the heels, if I'm honest with you. They're short row heels, and it's the first time I've made short row heels. So I don't know if you'll be able to see, not the neatest heel in the world. So but I gave them a go, and I think I need to practice on those if I'm going to use short row heels again. But yeah, so that pattern was out of this book, the Sock Drawer, and it's the first pattern in this book by Verity, and it is the Frances sock. I shall just find the picture for you. So this is the sock, and Frances. And you can get this pattern individually on Ravelry. I've had a look, and she does have her patterns from this book individually on Ravelry, so you can buy that pattern. And I hope to make more socks from this book. I enjoyed making those socks, and I would like to make some more of the socks in this book and perhaps do them in order in the book. I think would be nice. So the next pattern in the book is Delilah. Oh, I don't know. Delilah. If you're new to this podcast, you please forgive my pronunciations of things. I am absolutely shocking, and if you've been watching from the start, you will know this. Yeah, but Delilah, so pretty this. So I think I will have a go at making those at some point. And I did receive some yarn for Christmas from Ferret's yarn. 3 skeins from my husband, so I do have that in my stash, so I think I'm going to use that yarn specifically for making these socks. Ferret's yarn brand is this Truly Hooked. You might be familiar with that yarn brand. So yes, so I just wanted to talk quickly about the Kitchener stitch, and I mentioned in my last episode that I'm absolutely rubbish at remembering it, and I have to look it up every time and I lose my way. And then in the post came this wonderful thing that I have on my bag. I'll tell you about my bag in a minute. This so it's a keyring by Jelly Bean Yarns, and it was sent to me by one of our viewers, Adriana. So thank you so much, Adriana. It was such a lovely surprise. It came in the post and I opened it up, and I saw it was from Jelly Bean Yarns, and I thought, I haven't ordered anything from Jelly Bean Yarns, and I opened it up and I didn't see the note at first, and I thought, I don't understand what's going on here. That's a bit weird. I was just talking about that on my podcast not long ago. And then there was a little note inside from Adriana that Jelly Bean Yarns had put in. So thank you so much. I've used it twice now. I've had another pair of socks which I forgot to bring up, but I'll show them on the next podcast. And it stays on my little bag. And I'll just, while I've got my little bag here, this is my little sort of notions pouch that I have, and this is from one of our viewers. I purchased it. She has an Etsy shop, Sue, and her Etsy shop is, let me get it right, and I will put it up here as well so that you can see. So Sue Gifts, all one word, on Etsy. And this little pouch is one, incredibly pretty, but it is also the perfect size for all my bits and bobs, all my notions. So I keep all sorts of things in here. I keep my little scissors. Oh, yeah. I keep these little needle case things for sewing in ends. I've got tape measure, and I've got all sorts of stitch markers. Ooh, a bit of yarn. I love these stitch markers. I'll just show you these. These are from Crafty Caddy Niddy Bits, which I buy most of my stitch markers from, to be honest. I love stitch markers from there. These are little, oh, my camera's not focusing very well. Oh, there we are. Little pretty stitch markers. So yeah, that's where I keep all my bits and bobs that I need while I'm making. Also on this bag I've got, well, only one. There used to be 3 of these, but they were cheap from a little sock thing from freebie from a magazine. My camera's not focusing very well at all. And I've got a little Dobby key ring. I don't know if you show up. from Harry Potter. He's yeah. Oh, I'm not sure what's wrong with my camera today. It's not a happy camera. Anyway, little story about Dobby. I'd asked my husband, well, I hadn't asked, we were out shopping and we saw those little pops. And I'll show you what one of those is if I can grab it over here. So this is what a pop is. So it's a little doll, really. And I just had seen them and I'd said to him, oh, I wouldn't mind a little Dobby one for my craft rooms. So we had a look and we couldn't find one. So he bought me one for Christmas online. The thing with my husband is he gets slightly obsessive with things. So if he sees more than one thing around the same theme, he can't just buy the thing he's gone on to buy. He's got to buy other things as well. So I ended up with that Dobby thing, a key ring, and a little, I don't know, it's not Lego, but a little might be Lego, little model thing that's downstairs on the bookshelf. Thank goodness he didn't see any other things, because I would have had everything and anything to do with Dobby. If he'd seen it while he was buying that, then I would have ended up with a door. I only actually wanted that one thing, bless him. Never mind, shouldn't be ungrateful. I have a lot of Dobby things now. So yeah, that's my little bag there. So the other thing that I've been knitting is a hat on the lovely Henrietta here. So this hat is lovely. I'll just try and do a so you can see the detailing of it. So this is the biscuit hat. So this is by Lorraine Ashley, who also has the Alinas Crafts podcast, and this is her first pattern design, and it really, for a first pattern, it's fabulous. It's a really quick knit, but there's enough detail in there to keep you occupied. You know, it's not just plain stockinette. There's you know, stitches in here, and this is a lovely ribbon here, and it's really pretty. And I've been wearing this quite a bit. I haven't blocked it, so the stitches might be a bit uneven. I'm not planning on blocking it. I've been wearing it quite a bit, so it's really nice hat. And I've not bought my written pattern up. I can't find it, so I will just pop a picture of it up here, or details of it up here. You can find it on Ravelry, and it's the biscuit hat by Lorraine Ashley. And Lorraine also has a podcast, as I've said, so pop along and show her some love. This is really nice. It fits nice. It's quite big on old Henrietta head here, and it probably is this big. She's probably got a similar head size to me. What do you think? Yeah. But I wear this for work, this hat, and I wear a ponytail to work, and my ponytail sits just about here, and so this is perfect because I've got quite short hair, and the ponytail is little, so it sits sort of here, and it just sits inside the hat. If I was to make another one, because I do like snug hats as well, all you would need to do is start the decreases earlier, and then it would be a snugger fitting hat. But I really like the size that this has come out at. The yarn I used is, let me pop Henrietta over there, because she's quite a heavy head. Bless her, I'll pop her back over here. Ooh. There we are. Yeah, she's quite a heavy head. The yarn I used was yarn that was gifted to me from one of our viewers, from Emma. So thank you, Emma, so much. And it was all the way from New Zealand. She sent it to me. She was one of the prize winners of the last episode. She sent me a lovely gift. I will show other things as well, but this is the yarn. So that's the brand. It's Heritage New Zealand Kid Mohair, in the Damson colourway, and it's got an ever so slight halo effect to it because of the kid mohair, and it's a DK weight hat, so that's a DK weight yarn. Beautiful colour, and I've popped it there next to my shawl, which I'll show you in a little bit, and I wear them together because I think they go perfectly together. So I just finished the shawl, and that came in the post, and I thought, oh, perfect for the biscuit hat that I'd bought the pattern for, to go with my shawl. So that was great. I am a little bit of I like things to sort of go together, and not necessarily matchy, so they don't necessarily have to be the same pattern, but something that links them in. So when I wear a shawl and a hat and gloves, I like sort of similar colours to go together. I don't know why, I'm not a mismatch person, and I know a lot of people don't like matchy stuff, but I'm quite happy to have the same pattern in everything as well. So that is the biscuit hat. Pleasure to make, so I would highly recommend that pattern to you. And then the next thing I want to show you, I'll just talk about what tea I've been drinking as well. I've been drinking, it's nearly all gone now, out of this new mug. This very pretty mug that my husband bought me for Christmas. I love this. So I've been drinking that, and Emma, who sent me them all, also sent me this tea. Now, this is Kerry tea, organic. It's a fruit. It's naturally naturally caffeine-free, honey pushed infused with. It's a fruit, and I can't pronounce it. Feijoa, and blended with manuka leaf and elderflowers. But that's the pronunciation of the fruit there. Where my finger is, if this will show up there. Organic herbal infusion. It's really nice. It's really fruity. I don't have milk in it. I just drink it like it is, and yeah, I've been enjoying that, Emma, so thank you very much for that tea. And the next thing I've got to show you is not something made by me, but it was also made by that lovely Emma who sent me the wool, and it has to be shown off because it is absolutely beautiful. Now, Emma made this as a part of our make-along that we had, and it's brioche, so the Challenge Yourself make-along, which was my first make-along and the only one I've done so far. Emma made this beautiful scarf. Let me put it on. Oh, it is absolutely stunning, and I've been wearing this as well. This is, look at this. Let me take it off and just show you this beautiful pattern. Isn't that lovely? The colours are lovely, and that's that side, and then this is this side, it's the lighter side, because it's brioche. That is just, it's so soft and squishy and absolutely lovely. And this is the first time Emma's done brioche. Can you believe it? How beautiful that has come out. I just, and she sent me this for me, and I can't tell you how much joy it brings me. I opened it, and the parcel, and I have to say, this and my other little parcel as well, both just brought me so much joy. And I've been wearing this. It's beautiful. And if you want to know what pattern this is, it's the, let me get my notes so I'm not looking down there, it's the Brioche Basics scarf by Susan Sommer, and I will, Basics is BASIX, and I will pop the details up here, and that's on Ravelry. You can get that on Ravelry, paid for pattern. It's absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, Emma. It just, Oh, can't tell you how much I love that scarf. So yes, and the final thing I want to show you with regards to knitting, I hope I haven't been rabbiting on too long for knitting, is plans in making plans. So as a part of a swap I did quite a long time ago, I received some yarn from my swap partner, who is an indie dyer in Sweden, and I'll show you the two yarns that I got. Oh. Aren't they just beautiful? This one's not showing up true to colour on it's more of a tealy colour than the blue it's showing up as, but still it's so vibrant. It's absolutely beautiful. And this is from Penny Lane Yarns. Let me just try and get the label. Is that showing up? Oh no, I'm not showing it fully. Hang on a minute. So Penny Lane Yarns, it doesn't quite fold. And it's pennylaneyarns.com is the website that you can purchase yarn from. It was absolutely beautiful. So I received these two in the swap. It might have been the year before last. And I've been wanting a pattern, and I've been wanting to find just the right pattern to use it for, and I haven't really found anything. And you know, when you receive something that's a gift, I always feel that I want to make something special with it. So this one's called the Touch of Blues, this colourway. Oh, look at that. Touch of Blues. And this colourway I'm not going to be able to pronounce. I know I'm not. But I think it's Playa del Este. So yeah, I've been looking for a pattern, and then I was, I think on Instagram, and this pattern came up, and this is just perfect. So this is the Pekia shawl by Aurora Knits, and apologies again if I've mispronounced that. And as soon as I saw it, I thought that's the pattern for my beautiful yarn. It was just, and I'll just show you one more, which is it shows you it laid out a bit better. Oop, that should do it. Oh, and how stunning is that? That is going to be perfect in my yarn that I've got, and so I was so pleased to find that. And then the grey, I'm using this Drop Snored in the just colour 5. It's just a grey alpaca and wool blend. I find that if I'm making something quite large and I want to use some hand dyed yarn, and there's a plain colour with it, that it's more economical to buy something like the drops or you know, a branded yarn to go with it, just to offset the cost a little bit of the. I know I haven't paid for this hand dyed yarn, but do you know what I mean? It's not always feasible to make the whole project out of hand dyed yarn. It becomes quite expensive sometimes, especially if you've got a larger project. So I think combining the two sometimes is the answer to that. Well, it is for me anyway. So that's it for knitting. So we'll move on to the next section, which will be crochet. Okay then, so let's move on to talk a little bit about crochet. Before I show you my makes, I just wanted to show you this, talk about this little brooch. I don't know if you can see it very well, but that is my beautiful gifted brooch that was gifted to me by Nina. who was one of the other winners of the Make Along. By the way, if you win something from me, please don't feel obliged to send me something. It's wonderful and I love receiving gifts, but I also love giving. Gives me great pleasure to send things off out into the world, knowing that they're going to be received and bring a smile to somebody's face. It really brings me joy, so that's why I do it. So please don't feel obliged to send me anything, perhaps, but I do appreciate these beautiful things that I have been sent with all my heart. It's just lovely. Thank you. So I got this from Nina, and I also got some Kendal mint cake. Now, if you haven't had Kendal mint cake, it's a hard thing to describe. It's basically just sugar, cocoa butter, glucose syrup, and peppermint oil. Really, there's a few other ingredients, but that's basically what it is. A very high sugary sweet, and it's not to everybody's taste. My husband and I love it. We love it when we're out walking, particularly when it's cold and a bit of a chilly day and we're all wrapped up, and we take a flask of tea or coffee, depending on what mood I'm in and what I'm making, but flask of tea or coffee, and we go out for a walk, and then midway round we have stop, usually where we find a lovely view, and we have our coffee or tea and a piece of Kendal mint cake. Just a little piece, and it goes beautifully with the coffee or tea. Just that little whack of extra energy to finish our walk off. And so I got this in the post and thought, oh, fantastic. So yeah, so thank you for that, Nina. I appreciate it. It's beautiful. So my makes then. So the first thing I want to talk about is my Treasure Island shawl, which you will have seen in the background, which I've moved now, which is this beauty. Now, I love this shawl. I say that a lot, I know, I love everything, but I do really like this. Stand up a little bit. So it fits. I have knotted the ends here. Two reasons really. One is it weighs it a little bit, so that because this is fingering weight yarn, it's quite light, so it adds a little bit of weight to the ends to keep them in place, which it really works well, I find that. And the other reason why I knotted this particular one is because one of my ends got caught on one of the blocking pins, and I didn't realise, and I pulled it, and it pulled it out of shape a little bit, and I was devastated because I'd only just blocked it. But when I knotted it, you can't tell anyway. So yeah, this is it. This is the pattern here. Oh, don't know if that'll show up. So it's the Treasure Island shawl. I don't know how well that's focusing today. The camera is not particularly focusing very well today, or either that or I'm just further away from it than normal and I can't see it because my glasses, yeah, are for reading, not really for the distance. So it's the Treasure Island shawl by Hannah Siegmund from the Cozy Cottage Crochet, and many of you will know Hannah if you're into crochet. If you don't, pop along and watch her crochet podcast. She's absolutely lovely, Hannah. Really happy vibes you get from her. Really enthusiastic about everything she makes, and crochet in particular. She does a bit of knitting, but crochet is her first love. And yeah, she's done quite a few patterns now, but this was her first pattern. And this pattern was, I think I talked about it in my last podcast, that I got as a part of a thing on Instagram, Get Your Wishes Granted, and she did reverse wishes and gave a few people who commented in her post a copy of her pattern. So as soon as I got it, and for me, the reason one of the reasons I really like this is because it's a one skein project. You know, sometimes when you've got really pretty skeins of hand dyed yarn, or just yarn, not necessarily hand dyed, but really pretty, in your stash, and you don't particularly just want to use it for socks all the time. I mean, I like knitting socks, but I don't always just want to knit socks with my beautiful yarn, because sometimes you think, oh, I don't really just want that on my feet. So this is a one skein project, and I had a tiny bit left at the end, so you know, and it's lightweight, so it would be lovely for spring, going into spring, but I have been wearing it. I've been wearing it with my hat, so yeah. And this wool is from Casual Fashion Queen, and it's Mermaid's Dream, and I got this in a swap as well. So this was a swap partner that I did with someone who had just posted something on Instagram, I think, and said, would you like to do a swap? And this is part of that swap. It's beautiful. Yeah, I'm so very lucky in I've had some beautiful things via swaps, and I know it can be risky because you know, you're risking that person isn't going to send you anything, but every time I've done a swap, either via you know, a swap that's been set up through what am I trying to say, you know, somebody's set it up and it's been arranged and that sort of thing. But I've also just done swaps with people that I've been talking to, chatting to on Instagram, and said, you know, do you fancy doing a swap of yarn, and we've done it that way. And I've been very lucky. I've got some absolutely beautiful things, and I've been able to send out some beautiful things out into the world to others. So the next thing I've made is a pair of slippers for me. I'm always making slippers for other people, and I thought my feet were cold one day, and I thought I need to make some slippers. So this pattern I got, so these are the Baldwin slippers designed by Varney J Creations, and they are made with an Arrowweight yarn, and this is available on Etsy. So you need to get this via Etsy, the Baldwin slippers, and it's slippers with a Z, and I'll put the details up here. So I don't know whether, excuse me a minute, this will be better off showing this on the foot or not. We shall have a look. Let's see. Well, it stretches it out a little bit more on the foot, but just to give you an idea, this is the slipper. So yeah, these are it is a bit more stretched on this foot than my foot, but I do have big feet. But these are what they look like. Look. And this is my little cat button. I don't know if it will focus on there. There we are. Little cat button with a, yeah. So they sit like that. These are great. I love these slippers. They were so quick to make, and such a clever design. I've not seen anything like this before. I mean, others who've made lots of things might have, but I've only ever made the Joe's Toes ones, which are fantastic, and I love making them. But these you don't need any soles for. I might get some felt and just make, I know Varna is on Instagram, and she's got a picture where she's put a little bit of leather or something on the bottom, and I might do that, and you can get that non-stick stuff that you can put on the bottom. I'll see how slippery they are. And then this is the other cat. I've got one. I don't know if are you gonna focus? Maybe. I don't know how well that's showing up really. So I put little cat buttons on, and the yarn is out of my stash. I'm very proud of myself. I had leftover yarn, so I've made hats, socks, hat, scarf and gloves out of West Yorkshire Spinners Croft Tweed yarn. This is so West Yorkshire Spinners Croft Tweed, and It's in the Mayfield colourway and the Halo colourway. There's two different colourways on here because this is leftover yarn from other projects. I didn't have enough, and you can probably see the darker one is Mayfield and the top one is Halo. You can see that where the colours change. Which to me, actually, I quite like that effect on them. I think they look pretty. I don't mind that they're two different colourways, and that's an Aran weight yarn. So in the UK, I think that's worsted weight elsewhere. Yeah, highly recommend this pattern. Absolutely loved it. It was just, yeah, I think I made 2 days. I think I made one day and one the next day for these, and they're my slippers. So pop them to one side over there out the way. And then the next thing I have been working on is in crochet is a big project. So over the Christmas period, I did lose my mojo a bit, and I didn't want to work on anything, and I was just a bit low. And for me, my turn to thing, I just wanted something a bit, I didn't really want to think and concentrate on. I just wanted something that I could just sit and do and watch telly and just relax a bit and wind down. I just kept picking up projects and not feeling them at all. So then I had a magazine that I'd picked up, the Simply Crochet magazine. I had one of their offers where you get 3 copies for £5, and then I shall cancel my subscription because it's too expensive after that. But yeah, within issue 79 came this book, and I was looking through this book. It's one of the supplements that comes with the magazine, and I found a project in there, this called The Point of View. So you can see that there. Now I really liked that. I didn't want to make it all that one colour. I had my advent calendar minis that I wanted to use, but and I thought about using them in, you know, like a granny stripe blanket, or I didn't really want something that I had to do squares and then sew them up afterwards, and just, you know, I just wanted something that you could join as you go. And this is a corner to corner join as you go pattern. So I thought, oh, that's ideal. But I wasn't in very good brain space, so I will say that it was inspired by that pattern, but I didn't use the pattern in the supplement because I read it and it just confused me. And I don't think it's the way the pattern was written. I just was not in any mood to sit there trying to figure out a pattern. I wasn't in the very best brain space at all. So I just googled corner to corner join as you go crochet, and there's a few tutorials on YouTube that come up. So if you're interested in making this, that's what I would suggest you do, is Google corner to corner join as you go crochet. And so this is what I've come up with. I'm not sure how well that's showing up. So it's quite long. This is probably, I was going for single bed size, but when I've laid it out on the bed, I think it's more double bed size. So I've done 4 rows so far, and I absolutely love this. Oh, not quite 4 rows, still got one more. So basically what you're doing is you start in this corner here. You're making little squares, so you're making 1 square. You start in this corner, you do your half in your plain, then you do your second half in your colour, so you work that way, So you increase and then you decrease, and then you join on the next one. So when you start the next one, you join it on, and then you do, and everyone just joins onto the other. So there's no joining at the end at all. And for me, I don't know what it is, but when I'm working with colour, I like the granny stripe blankets and the is it the memories, cozy memories blankets, but I struggle a little bit without a sort of a, I don't know, it's not contrasting colour, but a common colour to tie them in together. I don't know why. So for this, the grey to me is the common theme colour, and I just need that little break in the colour to tie them all together. Aesthetically, it's more pleasing to me. Not to say that I won't, maybe I think I might do one a granny stripe blanket one day, but at this moment in time, this was what I fancied, and I think I'm going to do a border that goes around. I don't know what border yet. I'm going to do. Just makes me smile. It's so pretty. And so I'm doing this with my minis that I got, my opal minis. So these little mini things from my calendar, my advent calendar. And the grey is Drops Nord. And as I've said before, Drops Nord is an alpaca and wool blend. I bought a great load of this Drops Nord in the sale for from Wool Warehouse last year. I had always planned to do a blanket with my minis or my leftover scraps. I just didn't know what, but I did know I did want a colour to tie the things together, a base colour if you want to call it that. So I purchased these in the sale, and this is sort of a fingering weight yarn. I think they're normally £2.30, somewhere around that, which isn't a bad price point for 50 grams, but I think when I purchased these, they were on sale for £1.60 per 50 grams, which was a great price. So I bought quite a few. I think I bought 20 balls, somewhere around there, because I knew I'd want them at some point, and then put them away in my stash. So I'm pleased to be using this because this is stash yarn that I'm using up in this blanket. And the other thing that I find with this, combining the two, is this is a really soft yarn. It is a little bit of a halo, so it does tickle a little bit. It's not scratchy, but it tickles. But it's really soft yarn. And the opals are, because they're a sock yarn, they're a hard-wearing commercial sock yarn, are a bit rougher and a bit more rustic. So the grey softens the blanket up a bit, as in softens it cuddly wise. So yeah, that is what I'm doing. I'm using a 2.5mm needle. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. And these are the Addy swing needles that I've shown before, which I always use. They're perfect for the way I hold my crochet hook, which is like this. So yeah, I crochet like that. So for me, these are the perfect hook, and I don't use any other hooks. It's just these Addy swings. So I'm using a 2.5 hook, and I'm doing 8x8 squares. Little squares are 8x8, and I'm using approximately 4 grams of each colour in the square. So it's an 8-gram square, 4 grams of the colours to make up the squares. So it's a perfect project really for scraps as well. So if you haven't got these, you know, opal minis, but you've got scraps or you've got other minis, it's a perfect project for that. The thing I'm enjoying about the opal minis is they're really different in, because they're, I don't know, some of them are sort of like this one's sort of just pink, and it comes out pink and purple, and it sort of comes out like that. But this one, it starts off a dark blue, but then inside it's got pinks and purples and lighter blues, and so when you're crocheting them up, you get different effects as you're going through the balls. So if you have a look at these top three here, they are all from the same ball, yet they're completely different squares. So they're all from the same ball, yet they've come out completely different. So they're completely different squares. And then the next two that I've got markers in are the same. So these bottom two, they're from the same squares as well. Same square, same ball, not the same ball as the top one, but the same as each other. Which I thought they just come out really lovely. I do have a confession though. I have purchased more of these opal minis because I worked out how many rows I wanted to go across, and I thought, yeah, that's how wide I want my blanket. And I was only on about my third row, and I thought, do you know what, I've not bothered to check I'll have enough wool for the size of blanket I want. And I'd already done quite a few rows and then realised I'm not going to have nowhere near enough in just the opals. So I was going to then just put in my other minis that I'd got, but because I'd already done 3 rows in just the opal, sort of they didn't look right when I tried to introduce them. I think I wanted to stay with the opals. If I'd started and mixed them in right from the beginning, I think they'd have been fine, but because I'd already done so many rows in the opals, they didn't look right, and I wasn't going to pull out what I'd done. So I went online and ordered some more minis. Now, I couldn't find a lot, but I did find the advent calendar that my husband bought me, which he must have bought in a sale because it only cost him £60, yet they're about £69, I think, when I was looking online. However, anyway, when I was searching, there was a website that had the advent calendar 60% off. So I was able to get another 2 of those advent calendars at 60% off. Yeah, so I'm going to use the balls out of them. I'll try and put the name of the website up here. It's Ravelry. I've never heard of it. Ravelry Crafts or something like that website. I can't remember. The one thing I will warn you, if you do order from them, they hound you with emails if you give them your email address. It's just constant email after email, just with their sales, and not anything horrible, but sales and have you seen this, have you seen that, and that annoys me a little bit. So I think I'm going to have to do something to take me off their mailing list. And they're not quite as good as Wool Warehouse. You have to spend £45 to get free shipping, which is a lot to me. £45 is a hefty thing for free shipping. Whereas Wool Warehouse is only £25 and you get free shipping. But they had what I wanted. They had it at an excellent price, 60% off. I mean, seriously, couldn't do better than that. So I now have all the wool to finish my jumper, and this my blanket. And I have to say, this blanket's been a bit of a real comfort to me over the Christmas period and just in the new year when I haven't been in a great mental space. It's really just soothed me to just be quite repetitive in what I'm doing, and it's quite an easy, you can watch TV sort of thing. So yeah, I've really enjoyed that. Okay, so the last couple of things I wanted to talk about in crochet. I have made this. My sister sent me some cotton, some crochet cotton in the post for Christmas. It's just this crochet cotton. All the way from Australia. That is my Christmas gift. So I've made this. Ooh, sorry about that. I've made this little crochet pouch, which is housing some cards at the moment, and that's what it's for, to house some cards. Now I will talk about these cards in the next segment, but it's housing these little cards, and it's just a little crocheted pouch to house them. and I basically used this pattern, Mama and Tot bath mitts dishcloth, wash mitt, dishcloth mitt, bath mitts and dishcloth mitts, that's why I was getting confused. So I used the design of that, but then I just did a little pouch, and then did a flap that I put on myself. I just did some decreases. So yeah, that was that. But I have a project I want to show you that I'm going to be starting soon, because I absolutely love this pattern. So this is another Vanna J Creations pattern, so you can buy it from Etsy. But look at this. Can you see that? Hopefully. Isn't that lovely? That is the Perfect Love pillow, and that's a crochet pattern by, again, Vanna J Creations. And the wool I'm not going to do it in those colours because I've got lovely Ginger Cat and I wanted to sort of do an ode to him. So the wool I'm using is Drops Alaska, and this, I got this from Wool Warehouse. This is 100% wool, and it is £1.60 to £1.80 a ball depending on the colours. So the main colour is going to be the brown, and then the cats are going to be one from a Ginger Cat, this colour, and then another one a lighter colour. So what do we think? That with cats. I think that's going to be lovely. I know this isn't Ginger Cat quite colour. It is a little bit. This is worsted weight yarn, I think, or Aran weight yarn in the UK. And that's what it calls for, the pattern. And in a affordable yarn, I couldn't really find colour, quite the right colour that I wanted for my Ginger Cat. And the oranges were really orange, like a, you know, bright orange. And I love orange, and I love bright orange, but not for what I wanted. So this was the next best option. So this is mustard. This is in the mustard colourway, I think, although it just says 58, but I think it was called mustard. And then this is colour 61 and colour 23. So that project is a project I've got planned, or crochet project. So that's it really for the crafting stuff. I have got some cross stitch stuff that I might show in the next episode. Lorraine from the LNS Crafts podcast has been showing some cross stitch, and I mentioned to her that I cross stitch, and she says, oh, I'd like to see that. And actually I'd like to show a bit of cross stitch on here, so I may change the sewing section to sewing and needlework section, but not this week because I don't want to make this too long an episode, so not this month. But I will talk about a bit of cross stitch as well. I've got nothing in the sewing section this month. So the next section I'm going to be talking a little bit about just my health, self-care, and why it's important to me. There are books, because obviously books is what the next section is, but it's also a little bit about that. So there will be two books. There will be this book that I'm talking about in the next section, and then table that I'm leaning on is just about gone, and this book, and there will be a prize which will include yarn that I'll be giving away as part of the next section. But if you're not interested in that sort of thing, then that's perfectly fine. If you've just come for the crafts, then thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Okay, so it's a little bit later in the day now. I had to run out and do some errands and charge the battery on the camera. But in this next section, as well as talking about a couple of books that I'm reading or looking at, I also wanted to take the time to talk about self-care and why self-care is so important to me. I know I mention it quite a bit on here and on Instagram, if you follow me on there. And one of the things about self-care is that it's individual to each person, and what I consider self-care for me may not be what you consider self-care for you, and that's important to remember, that taking care of yourself is an individual thing, and only you will know what your priorities are and what you need to concentrate on. Now, I want to just talk to you a little bit about my health, and why I have come to realise that self-care is important. About 2 years ago, or just under 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with a inherited heart condition that I wasn't aware that I had, and it's called a inherited dilated cardiomyopathy. And basically what that means is that one side of my heart, the left side of my heart, has dilated, so it's enlarged, and it's enlarged to a point where it's stretched the muscle, and so the muscle of the heart is really thin, because as it enlarges it stretches out the muscle, which means that the heart can't function like it should, because it doesn't have the muscle power to pump like it normally should. And initially, when I was diagnosed, I'd gone into the hospital for a minor procedure on some women's health issues that I was having, and I'd gone in for a minor procedure, and as I was being put under anaesthetic, they found out this issue with my heart. Even though I had been going to the doctor saying I hadn't been feeling very well for quite some time, I'd been experiencing extreme levels of tiredness, and that is one of the symptoms. And they kept sending me away saying, oh, you're just working too hard, maybe you're not eating right, you're not getting enough exercise, maybe it's stress, etc. And it wasn't until I went in for this operation that they discovered something wrong with my heart, and then a few months of tests and referrals, and found out I'd got this inherited heart condition. Now, when it was initially diagnosed, the impact on the heart, so the loss of heart function was mild to moderate. So I'd got heart failure, but the loss of function in my heart was mild to moderate. So they put me on various medications and sent me on my way, and said, we'll monitor you yearly, or at that point it might have even been 5 yearly. They weren't overly concerned. They were a little bit concerned because the condition that I have, whilst it's inherited, it doesn't normally present itself in most people until older in age, to later in life, so late 60s, 70s, 80s, that type of thing. For those people, for us that have this condition, it's 1 in 2,000, I think, that it presents early in life, and they don't know why. They don't know why it presented itself earlier in my life than they would normally see it presenting. So I had that diagnosis, and I didn't really, they didn't seem overly concerned, so I wasn't overly concerned, and I didn't really take, you know, initially I thought, oh, I need to be a bit careful, I need to watch what I'm eating, I need to look after myself better, but because it wasn't something that was related to my lifestyle, it's not something that happened because of my lifestyle, I didn't really take that much notice of it. I tried to manage the tiredness the best I could, and I'd sort of gotten used to it. But as the months went on, the symptoms got a lot worse, and I was ignoring him, thinking that, you know, well, I'm just overdoing it, oh, this is ridiculous, I'm just being lazy, I don't need to stay in bed, etc. And a few months, say 6 or 7 months later, I ended up in hospital again, but this time my lungs had filled up with fluid, and I was in quite poorly, and I was struggling to breathe, and I really wasn't very well, and they retested my heart, and unfortunately the heart function the loss of function had gone from mild to moderate to severe. And again, they don't know why. Nothing had changed in my life. They don't know why it had progressed the way it had progressed. but they knew they had to do something else about it. And as a result, for just before my 40th, or just after my 45th birthday, I had a pacemaker and defibrillator device fitted, which sits here under the skin, and it basically has 3 wires that go down the main artery into my heart, and they pace my heart constantly. So it's not one that paces just when it needs it, it's a permanent pacer, paces my heart to give it that extra strength, that extra welly to work properly. And I also have a built-in defibrillator because, unfortunately, with the condition I have, I'm at high risk of cardiac arrest. So cardiac arrest is slightly different than heart attack. Heart attack is usually a result of something like the narrowing of the arteries or something like that, where the blood flow can't go properly, whereas cardiac arrest is when your heart stops. So I have a built-in defibrillator as well. And there is no cure for the condition I've got, but this is to manage the symptoms, and it's working quite well. I'm a lot better. I don't get as breathless. I still get bouts of tiredness if I don't manage to look after myself properly, and that is one of the self-care issues that I have, that it's really important that I manage the tiredness properly and don't just plough on regardless and ignore the signs that actually my body needs to rest. And that applies to all of us, whether you've got the condition or not. And the other thing, I do suffer from depression and anxiety from time to time, and I have had a bout of it sort of December, January. But I think this time it was because of stress. I've been quite stressed and I haven't been managing that properly. And that stress is your body's natural, you know, everybody suffers stress or experiences stress, and stress is when your body goes into fight or flight mode. It produces adrenaline to help you through that situation, whatever that situation may be, but then it should return to normal. And when you're constantly in a state of stress, your body stays in that fight or flight mode constantly. So you're constantly, you know, anxious and on alert, and that adrenaline's going, and that's not a good state to be in. It's bad for your physical health and it's bad for your mental health. And that's what I've been struggling with a little bit, is stress these last few months. And I need to find ways to manage that better. And again, that needs to form part of a self-care plan. And I'm not saying that it's just purely self-care for the anxiety and depression. I have had medical advice from my doctor. I have been to see my doctor about that, and I would say that to anybody, that for things, mental health issues like anxiety and depression, you must go and seek help in those things. But the things that I want to do now in the self-care thing is to help me recover from those things and help me manage stress better, so that I'm not experiencing stress and I don't get myself into this state again for not managing it properly. And the other things I've been having is severe migraines, and I talked about that in the last episode, and they've been getting worse rather than better, and I've got some great advice from people on Instagram, so thank you for that. And when I've been speaking to the doctor, they think that it's the stress that's causing it, or the migraines are causing the stress. We don't know really, but they've gone hand in hand. So because I've been having so many migraines, I've been getting upset and stressed at the fact that they're stopping me from doing what I want to do in life. But then being stressed makes them worse, so you know, it's a really vicious circle really. So the first book I wanted to talk about as part of my self-care plan is this. So this is The Stress Solution by Dr. Ranjan Chatterjee, and I'm sure I've probably pronounced that wrong again. And I've been enjoying reading this book. It's light, it's quite a lightweight read. It explains stress and but it has little tools in there to help you manage stress. And I've been to stress management classes before through work, but these are just little tools to help you sort of manage stress, rather than what classes I've been to sort of, you know, we must take time out, we must go and do hobbies, we must do this, and I know all that, but these are, I think for me, just reading it and putting one thing in place at a time and thinking about it a bit more works better for me. And so one of the things in this book that it recommends is a morning routine, putting in a routine in place in your morning so that your mornings aren't stressed. And that's one of the things I'm really bad at doing, is getting up in the morning. I hate mornings. I don't feel well in the mornings. The medication I take for my heart, I take a number of tablets, make me feel shocking, and I take them at night because they make me feel so bad. So I don't take them in the morning, otherwise during the day I'd feel awful, but I wake up feeling awful. And so I procrastinate getting out of bed, and I either turn off my alarm and go back to sleep, or I go straight onto social media, and that's really not good for starting the day. So one of the things I want to do is put a morning routine in place that makes me get out of bed, not makes me, but you know, that I get out of bed in good time before work, and take the time to have a cup of tea, sit down, relax, focus my mind a little bit, and then leave the house, rather than diving out of bed and rushing around and grabbing my bag and running out. So that's one of the tips that I haven't read it all yet. So it says there's things in there, so it covers finding purpose, connecting more to the people that you love, your friends, your family, that sort of thing, eating smart, and discovering calm, which are all good things for self-care and for reducing stress. So these are just tools really to help in that situation. And then the other book that I've been reading, sort of, it's not really a self-care book, but I'm going to use it sort of like a little self-care tool. One of the things I'm not very good is mindfulness. I've been through quite a few mindfulness sessions, again through work in various places, and I'm no good at the just sit there and breathe in and out and concentrate on the moment and listen to your breathing. I lose focus, and it really, I know some people are really good at that and really good at meditating, and I'm rubbish, and I get frustrated at myself, and I know I need something to keep my mind occupied while I'm trying to sort of keep a little focus away from everyday life. That makes sense? I don't know if that makes sense. But anyway, the other book that I've had is this book. Now, this is the Illustrated Herbary. Now, this is not the same as herbology, so this isn't about using herbs as medication. This is herbary, and I will just, there's a little paragraph about sort of what herbary is in the book, so I'll read you that. It says, an herbary is a collection of short writings about botanicals, medicinal, decorative and whimsical. Although it alludes to healing property, it was never meant to be prescriptive. Many observations are quite accurate, but they should not be seen as superior to creative or fanciful descriptions and symbolic flights of fancy. A great deal of its charms come from the depth and creativity of its illustrations, allowing us to see what otherwise would remain hidden. So it's more about herbs and their legends, myths and legends that go with them, and how people have used them, and what sort of properties they have in nature, that sort of thing. It's a little hard to explain. But in the back of this book comes, there's a little wallet here, little thing, and it comes these cards that I made this packet for. And they're the cards about various different sort of plants. And they're really, really nice, really pretty cards, really beautifully illustrated. I don't know if that's going to focus. Illustrated cards there. And it does give you some examples of how to use the cards. Now, they're not like tarot cards or anything like that. They're not that sort of thing. They're just little cards that you can use to sort of focus on a particular plant or whatnot. So what I decided to do with the cards, the way I'm going to use them, I've pulled one card for the year and looked at that as a just a little self-care tool, or a little something to focus on really. So I will give you an example, and there's little rituals that go with each one. So I pulled for the year, which I thought was really quite apt, and I just randomly pulled this. So the card I pulled for the year was this one. It says tap your resources at the top of it. Isn't that beautiful? So it was burdock. This is the page for burdock, so it's got that picture in bigger, and then it's a page about burdock. And I'll just read you what it says about burdock. It says, you know the birds that get matted in your dog's coat in autumn? The ones that prick your fingers and refuse to come untangled? That's burdock. She's a tireless companion, and yes, she sticks with you, cheering you on when you're running low on steam or self-esteem, or recovering from lingering ailments. Burdock's a nurturer, building you up with gentle sweetness and asking nothing in return. Her taproot runs deep, and once she gets her sights into breaking up the crusty soil of shifting old habits, she's persistently relentless. She's the friend of your childhood, the one you could always count on to have your back. Trust me, she says, and all will be well. And I thought that was really apt. So I pulled that card. That's going to be my card for the year, to sort of focus on for the year, which I thought was really, really lovely. And then with each card or with each plant comes a ritual and a reflection. So it gives you a little ritual for burdock. It says reconnect with your inner flame. It says burdock helps you find strength when you think you have none, warming you from the inside and nourishing deeply. In this way, she's a half fire. She offers great gentle heat, warm light, and the promise of a home-cooked meal. And then it gives you a little ritual to do. So it says to reconnect with your inner flame, light a candle, stare at the flame and imagine a small spark lighting deep in your core. See the candle's flame mirrored within as a glowing ember. And then it says breathe gently, letting the inner flame grow with each inhalation and shrink to an ember with each exhalation. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And it's to give you just a sense of warmth and just to concentrate on that moment, really, of just thinking about having that inner strength that you actually do have, that you forget that you've got sometimes. And so it's only same as the mindful practices of breathing, but it concentrates your brain a little bit more than just sitting there breathing. It keeps me focused a little bit more. So I've been doing that when I've been having a bath. I've lit the candle, have a bath, and just do that every now and then. And then there's a reflection for each plant. So the one for burdock is, we're not always kind to those who love us best and nurture us deeply. It's easy to neglect, accidentally or cruelly, the friends or loved ones always present and never demanding. Who do you count on when you're feeling burned out or your soul is malnourished? This person is your hearth fire. Once a year, the ancient Celts would extinguish their individual hearth fires and relight them from a communal flame. And then it says, does your hearth fire need to be tended or relit? And so that's just about, you know, concentrating on relationships, really, and to me that's how I've read that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have that card for the year, but then I'm going to draw a new card at the end of each month and follow the rituals in that, and they're really beautiful. And I just think it's just a little way to just focus on yourself for 5 or 10 minutes, focus on something. So I just like it. I just think it's little bits of mindfulness, but in a different way, in a unique way. So what I have done, because I just love this book and I think it's so pretty, and really some lovely little rituals in there and reflections, and I probably won't do them all. There might be cards, if I pull a card and I think, do you know, and that's not for me, or I find that a bit silly, or I don't think I'll benefit from that one, then I'll just pull another card and do a different one. So what I've done is I've also bought a copy for one of you. So this is a brand new copy, and you can see the cards are in the back, because I want to encourage people to take some time for themselves, even if it's 10-15 minutes a day, just to focus on themselves and and take some time to care about themselves. So that's what I've done. I've purchased a book, but I'm also going to include a skein of yarn. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? It's got sparkly, it's a sparkly yarn. This is Gamercraft, great Gamercrafting yarn. No, I don't know if that will focus, just doesn't want to focus the camera. It really isn't focusing very well today. I don't know whether it's where I've got it. Oh, that's better. Gamercrafting, gorgeous, gorgeous yarn there. It's 100%, no, it's 75% merino, 95% nylon, 100 grams sock weight, fingering weight yarn, sorry. So that will come with this because I just like the colours. I just thought the colours were very much reminiscent of the book. And also I've got this bag here. This bag is from the White Stuff Foundation, and they're a charity, and well, the White Stuff is a shop in England, a clothes shop, but they have a foundation who helping one of their closest suppliers to sponsor children's education, and it's to help fund scholarships. So the bags are these bags, and they're really, really nice, and I find them lovely for, this is the bag, isn't it lovely? So you've got this, oh sorry, this is it. It's got that on it, and it's got, this is the pattern, and it's got different colour lining, and folds up, and these are perfect for project bags for larger projects like shawls and jumpers and things. I use them, and if you're in the UK, they're only £3.99, these bags. They're great project bags, and they don't cost the earth, and they're for a charity as well. 100% of the money of this goes to the charity, which I really think is lovely. So I will pop that bag in as well. I use these, and I try and buy them for myself when I visit the shop. So I will pop those in as a giveaway, as all together in one giveaway. There will just be one. And what I would like you to do, if you would like to win this, is to pop a note down below the video on YouTube, just saying one thing that you will do, a promise to yourself about self-care. So one thing you may already do, or one thing that you plan to do for yourself to practice self-care. That may be getting up earlier in the morning like I'm going to do. That may be spending time, less time on social media. Or maybe it's just spending time with family and friends a bit more, going out walking, getting exercise, food, whatever, anything to you that you would like to bring into your life, or you already do in your life, that is self-care. Might be doing a bit of yoga, I don't know, there's dozens of things that you could be doing. So pop a note down below of what you plan to do in the realms of self-care, and that will be classed as an entry into winning those 3 things, and I will announce the winner in my next podcast. I haven't explained that book properly. I feel like I've just sort of waffled a little bit in this section about things, so I do apologise if what I've said doesn't make any sense. And I have noticed, you see this big scratch here on my face? That is my cat. The other night he decided he was going to jump up in bed and slipped, put his claw out to grab on, and grabbed onto my chin. It hurt, I can assure you. Bless him. And then he just got on and curled up as like nothing happened, and then here I am there trying to stop the blood on my chin. He's a little rat bag, that Ginger. So yes, so that's it really. I hope I haven't bored you to death waffling on too much. Anyway, but I always forget what I want to say, and I have all these things laid out and I have a plan, and then it never goes to plan, and I just tend to waffle about stuff, and then I think, oh, I should have said this, I should have said that. But anyway, it's done now. So thank you for taking the time to spend with me. I really appreciate it. Look after yourselves, take some time for yourselves, please, and I hope that I will see you again in another episode. And don't forget, if you would like to win the prize, pop a note down on below. Also, I would ask that you are a subscriber if you're going to enter. Please subscribe if you're going to enter to this. I would appreciate that. I would like a regular viewer to take that prize away. And yeah, see you soon. Bye.